Look close and you can see it beat. Heart tissue grown from stem cells used to test future drugs. The miniature heart-like structure suspended in a jar, pulsing. Kevin Costa is one of the scientists behind Novaheart.
The drug discovery process is a lengthy and expensive process. It typically takes about a decade and a couple of $1 billion US to take a drug from its initial concept to clinical trials.
And most drugs never make it past testing. The main reason, they are toxic to the human heart, something difficult to determine when testing on animals and often not discovered until well into the human trial phase.
So what we'd like to do with Novaheart is earlier in this process, be able to test drugs, test compounds in human heart muscle. The idea being that if these are going to fail, you want them to fail as early as possible.
It starts with taking blood cells, which are genetically reprogrammed to be stem cells, then manipulated into beating heart cells. By the millions, those are placed into a mold.
The cells kind of go in, they'll form kind of like a jello-like solution, but then over time they'll kind of reorganize and kind of try to hug on or compact near like the closest thing, and it'll take a shape of an inner mold that we have, which will be in this shape. And then we essentially can remove it out and then transplant it into any bioreactor that we want.
This is one of the company's 3 labs. The computer technology is built here to monitor the mini hearts after they have been given drugs. This is just a model of a testing system they use. What would be happening?
Right. So there's a mirror right in the center amongst all 4 of these chambers so that we can have a single camera looking from the top and acquiring all the data from all 4 chambers at once.
On the screen is a video feed of 3 specimens beating in the Hong Kong lab. The company says what it's doing stands out because of the heart-like structure of their cells.
We can actually measure it's a hollow chamber that's pumping, so you can actually measure how much pressure the organoid is generating, kind of like your blood pressure. You can measure how fast it's beating, so kind of like your heart rate.
But Novaheart is not alone in using stem cells for drug testing. It's been happening in labs for some time.
You see how they're twitching? Come take a look. That's so cool. Oh, isn't that amazing?
This beating strip of heart muscle is the product of Milica Radicek. The University of Toronto professor has her own biotech startup and believes the possibilities are endless.
You can make tissue for anybody, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of lines derived all over the world. You can call companies up and get cardiomyocytes from patients that have certain disease, and you can use them to build tissues and test drugs.
Making it possible to test drugs on specific patients, essentially personalizing drug testing. But there are limitations. It won't replace animal or human testing at this point.
Initially, when we started doing this, I must say that pharma companies were skeptical. They were asking us, well, show me that this really works like a real heart, show me physiological relevance, show me the drug testing data. And now the questions that we're getting is, what is your throughput? And what's your turnaround time? If we send you something, how fast can you turn it over?
For those outside the scientific community, the technology is a head-turner. And despite still being in the early stages and futuristic by nature, this technology is already getting attention from investors and the global pharmaceutical industry. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Irvine, California.